Hello everyone, welcome back to our GRE series. I'm Eli Andy, a GRE instructor here at the International Scholars Program. Now, many of those who are preparing for the GRE have lots of questions on the mocks. For example, you may wonder, should you do the mocks? Must you do the mocks? How many mocks should you take? How can you use the mocks? Now, we answer these and other questions comprehensively in our GRE training in the International Scholars Program. But for today, we want to look at one aspect of these questions: why you need the GRE mocks. And you can see the question is on need. So it goes without saying that you do need the mocks if you are aiming for top marks in the GRE. But why? And that is what we want to look at briefly for today. So welcome. And the first thing we want to look at is the difference between GRE mocks and other exams. If you have not taken the GRE, then most likely you have a very poor idea of what it entails. Those who have taken other standardized tests maybe have a bit of an idea of what the GRE is. But even then, your idea might not be that accurate. For you to understand and to get a feel of the GRE exam, you need to do a mock, a GRE mock that mimics the real thing. And that is point number one, where you need GRE mocks if you are preparing for the GRE. That is, the mock will give you an experience that you cannot get elsewhere, an experience of what the GRE exam is. For example, the GRE has what we call section level adaptation. The exam has multiple sections. For example, 2 verbal sections and 2 quant sections. Then the adaptation occurs in that your performance in the first section determines the difficulty level of the next section. And also that will also determine your scaled score. So few exams are set up in that manner. And if you want to know how it feels like, how it looks like, and how you can cope with that kind of a test, then your best bet is to take the mock. And take a mock under the same conditions you would take the exam. So know that if you want to simulate the exam, if you want to get an experience of the GRE test, then you need the mock. And who doesn't? Who doesn't need that experience? If you are really preparing for the GRE, then you should not wait for the D-Day to know how you should not be learning how the GRE feels like while taking the GRE. This is something you need to know beforehand, and you can only know this by taking a mock. Then you also need the mock to gauge and improve on your endurance. Now, the current GRE is not that long because it has been shortened from 2003. It was almost 4 hours then. Currently, the GRE is about 2 hours, a few minutes shy of 2 hours. Now, that might be long or not, depending on what you are used to at the moment. But note that you won't have a break for that period. So there's no break. So you have to sit for that period. how comfortable are you currently at tackling intense tasks like the GRE exam without taking a break? And maybe you don't know how you'd cope with those kind of situations. The best way, again, to experience that is to take a mock. You need to know, for example, after you have been battling complex verbal question, doing complicated quant maths, and you are maybe 1 hour, 45 minutes into the test, how will you behave at that point when you come across something that you barely understand? How will you be tackling questions toward the end of the test when you are mentally exhausted? Basically, how good are you at mental and physical endurance? And if you aren't, what can you do to improve? You might think that you know yourself or you know how you behave under such conditions, but to know for sure, to confirm that, you need to take a timed GRE mock. Then you also need GRE mocks to gauge your level of preparation, because it makes sense that you should only take your GRE test when you know you have a good idea of your preparation level and you can say that you are well prepared for the test. This is not something you need to guess. This is something you can measure using a GRE mock. In fact, the mock will help you identify, know, and maybe improve on some aspects of your preparation. For example, you need to know how far you are from your target score. Because in as much as we say we all want to ace the GRE, the meaning of ace differs by person. Some people would be comfortable with 320. Some are aiming for 335. So what you need to check is, what is your target score and how far are you from it? The mock will help you know that. Maybe you are targeting a combined score of 330. And your current score maybe is 300. In such a case, you have quite a lot of work to do compared to, for example, someone who is targeting the same score, but their mock score is 325. So the mock will help you with that knowledge. So you do need the mock, because imagine going for the test and maybe you don't know your current level, and then you go and get below your target score. You can avoid all that by taking a mock long before your exam date. And what about not your overall score, but your sectional scores? That is, how well are you conversant with the verbal or the quant section? Because we find that many courses and many people want different splits of scores. Maybe you are better off with a higher quant score compared to the verbal. The mock will help you gauge that. Maybe verbal, you have already hit your target. Maybe you wanted 160 and you already have that 160. But maybe quant, you wanted 165, but you are still at 160. And that means you need to put more emphasis on the quant section. The mock will help you identify that. And you can also review the mock to help you identify your weak areas, the areas you need to improve on. So again, don't just take the mock and look at the results and leave it at that. Review the mock not only section by section, but also question by question, and identify the topics that you have not performed well on. So for example, you can review and see how well you performed in arithmetic, algebra, text completion, and so on, so that you can put more emphasis after that on the areas that need improvement. So you can see just how critical these GRE mocks are.
You are watching Success with Bob Mwiti Show, presented to you by the International Scholars Program. The International Scholars Program is an award-winning international education financing scheme that helps bright students to pursue graduate studies abroad regardless of their financial background. You can find our programs by going to www.internationalscholarsprogram.com. The International Scholars Program, empowering dreams.
So you also need the GRE mocks to help you identify your weaknesses. We have already touched on this a bit in the preceding section, but GRE weaknesses come in different ways. So for example, maybe your weakness is time. Maybe you know what you are doing, but you are a bit slow. So if that is your weakness, the mock will help you identify that and will give you the opportunity to look at different strategies for speeding up in the exam so that time does not catch up with you during the exam itself. Now, this is crucial because when you are doing your GRE practice, you are trying the questions and in untimed conditions, they tend to look, if I may say so, easy or manageable. But once you are under timed conditions, like what you'll be doing in the real exam, then you realize that time really flies. And if you are not careful, you can end up not answering some questions in the GRE. But you can also only know that you have this weakness once you try a real mock and you analyze your performance. And then, like we mentioned earlier, maybe your weakness is some topic or some subtopic. Doing a mock again is a good way of knowing the topics or subtopics that you need to put more emphasis on. Some people also have this weakness of maybe what we call careless errors. Careless errors are errors that look relatively minor, but have great impact on your score. For example, maybe some people have this weakness of dropping some numbers or signs on numbers when transferring them from the question stem to the rough work, or from the rough work to the answer choices. So maybe you are supposed to do a calculation, for example, to illustrate this. You need to do a calculation with the -40. But when you go to the calculator or to your rough work, you use 40. You drop the negative. Now, this looks like a relatively small thing, but in mathematics, moving from a negative to a positive number has big consequences. Definitely, your answer will be wrong here. Some people don't read everything. They skim. That looks like a relatively minor weakness again, but with severe consequences. So many of us do not know ourselves as much as we think we do. Maybe you don't even know that you have such weaknesses. And so you need the mock to eliminate that side of you so that you can work on it. Now, this issue of time keeps on coming up again and again. We have mentioned it, but I want to tackle it on its own because it's a big deal in the GRE. Like the first section of the verbal reasoning section, you have 18 minutes to do 12 questions. (18 minutes to do 12 questions. So you have less than 2 minutes per question. 1 minute and some seconds. You can see how much pressure you'll be under while tackling GRE questions under timed conditions. So you need to know how to manage your time long before exam day. And you can use the tests for the mocks rather for time management improvement. Maybe you take one mock, the first mock, you check how much time you spent per question, the questions or the topics that took you longer than they should have taken you, which sections, maybe the quant or the verbal or the essay took too much of your time, or maybe which section you did not complete. So you review that mock, then you see how you can improve on time management, then take another mock, and again, and you keep on improving. So, but by the time you are taking the test, you have improved on your time management. So you do need the mocks to learn how to manage your time in the GRE test. And lastly, the mocks also provide you with additional questions that you can use for review or for revision. When preparing for the GRE, there's nothing like too many revision questions. Do as much as you can so that you are comfortable with tackling different types of questions, and the strategies are almost second nature to you. The tips and the strategies, whatever you need to know, should be at your fingertips. You don't have a lot of time to stop and think while doing the exam. And you will only get to that point if you take lots of practice. And so the mocks will give you, in addition to questions you'll have maybe from other resources, ETS and other third-party resources, the mocks will also give you questions that you can use for practice. So as we've discussed today, you can see just how much you need these mocks and how much they can help you. That brings us to the end of our session today. I hope you've learned why you need the GRE mocks, and you'll be taking them as part of your practice for the GRE. Bye and see you next time.